long ago. Same song sung, no more. Take a breath, step outside. Hello, all of you out there, and welcome to the Indigenous Ways Wisdom Circle. We are so grateful to be here, and we want to take this moment to honor the ancestors of these traditional lands, Ogapoga Owingwe, also known as Santa Fe. And we want to take this time to let you know that we have a very special guest, Gene Braverock. Gene is a Canadian actor and stuntman. He is best known for his hard-hitting roles in AMC's Dark Winds as Frank Nakai and The Stranger in the Dirty Black Bag role. He later appeared in various minor television roles before landing his first major film role on Chief in Wonder Woman. That was 2017, starring Gal Gadot in the title role. Gene is busy doing many, many things, and we are going to spend this time to get to know Gene a little better. Thank you, Gene, for being with us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Gene, your biography, your early life?
Okay, damix kinatini, ni student tani kuna tu yipita, numtu tu sixikech tipi tsokoi, tatsiki tapi, gainekon. I am from many chiefs, which is the Kainai or the Blood Tribe, which is part of the Blackfoot Confederacy. I was raised by my grandmother, Florence Braverock. I am from the Tall Tree Clan, and I make my home base here in like you said, Santa Fe. I'm very thankful to be welcomed here in the community, and life's good.
Wonderful. So Gene, we're really curious about your early life. Like, can you tell us a little bit about what it was like being raised in Canada with your grandmother? Like, what were some of the impactful events and moments that made you who you are?
You know what I think? I know my grandmother has made the biggest impact on my life with instilling me with the pride of knowing, I think to a certain extent, who I am and where I come from, right? Bringing me up with the language and being, grown up with elders all around me. I think that's what not sets me apart, but having that upbringing is a privilege because not a lot of people are able to be raised with those with their elders, right? It's a different perspective totally. I think so I go a generation back further than my parents that are disconnected, I want to say. Even to a certain extent my grandmother was disconnected because she was a school. So I know that was a huge impact in her life and in my life and with all the traumas that were brought up. But you know what? I don't look back and see traumas. I look back and I see connection with my uncles and my cousins, and it was the family dynamic was amazing. There was always, laughter, fun, craziness, and I think with everything in life, there's a yin and there's a yang, and with all the, I think as Indigenous people and the situations or the where we're at in society right now, it's been, we've been systematically disconnected from who we are as Indigenous people. And I think that's, for me, growing up with my grandma is the most connected I could be. And even though there is some, you know, it was great. I really enjoyed. I think that was the most favorite time of my life, being that little kid with no worries and, running around. It was. I remember everything from going to powwows all over Saskatchewan, Alberta, Montana, um, our own ceremonies, our sun dances. My my family, my uncles they were amazing athletes. There's so much talent in our communities, and still, I know there's our reservations in the places where we are. There's so much talent. I mean, I really liked. It's hard for me looking back at it now. I went from the res to Hollywood, right? And again, I think that's what sets me apart, was that upbringing by my grandmother.
That, you know what, that brings happy tears to my heart, because shit thought she must have never catch out a yelt kitten there. Bilgana catch out a dog with bells in there. Okay, the never catch out boss. Meaning Indigenous to Indigenous. I too had a great influence from my traditional grandmother, who never learned the English language. And she spoke pure Navajo, old style, Black Mountain, Zitlijin Navajo. And all her siblings spoke Navajo. And all the children, my aunties, uncles, mom, they all spoke Navajo. So on that mountain, it was Navajo, Dene, all the way. So that left a lasting impact in me. And I'm a woman that way. I'm culturally Navajo, and I hear you. And my grandmother, up until May 8, 2020, at age 96, when she passed on into the spirit world, we cared for her. She ended up in a nursing home and dementia and all that, but she wasn't in that nursing home. She was on a mountain with her sheep in her childhood, with her ancestors, and even in that nursing home, telling those stories. So what I had to do was remove myself from that physical place and just join her world and say, tell me, grandmother, tell me, tell me, tell me. And it was awesome. I was like, man, talk about making a movie, this
Right.
would be really cool. Go into grandma stories from the nursing home and go back into the old ways and old days. So that's really beautiful. I really appreciate that. Anybody that gives honor to grandparents, you got my heart all the way. So moving on, I understand from reading your Blackfoot history about 6 o'clock this morning that your tribe was pretty impacted around the 1700s, well, actually from the 1400s to the late 1700s, but up to that point you were mostly surviving on bison, and it was a big part of your culture. And in many ways, like us with sheep, we use everything, man, just everything from the fur to the compost, we just use it all. Can you talk about your food ways, and how does that work today, from the old days to now? Do you still rely on bison?
So, yeah, I mean, right now I've been on the last year. I'd say 90% of my protein has been bison, and it's changed me physically, mentally, spiritually, everything. It's how would I say this? I mean, I know it's the cleanest meat you can eat when it comes to health wise. But for me, you know what? I lost 20 pounds. Not that I needed to lose weight. And I've actually started eating more fattier meats just because I've lost so much weight. I'm actually training for a movie role. which is why I really wanted to see the impact of buffalo meat. And but to be honest, the majority of our people can't afford it. It's so expensive. I mean, it's it's a huge, huge, huge cost. I really, back in the day, I know, yes, we did utilize everything that we could from the buffalo. That's, not even just buffalo, that's in life. I think as Indigenous people, everything was, from my teachings, everything is sacred. Everything, even the words that come out of your mouth. And, that's the kind of the issues that we're having with the world today, is that everything is disposable, even the words that come out of our mouths, right? So, but our food sources back in the day, we weren't like me traveling around Indian country all over Turtle Island. I realized like not all of us are hunters. There's fishermen, there's farmers. We've all utilized what we had in our areas to survive. And I know as Blackfoot people, we we did have vegetables, we did have roots, we did, but we didn't grow them like they were, how would you say, just found. And we wouldn't take everything, so we would leave some for the next year. And there's a certain time and place to pick different things, whether they were seeding or not, or different types of, or I don't know, there was different areas, different places where different things grew. Where on our travels, we, even with the bison, we would dry the meat and make pemmican and berry. We would put it in the stomach linings of the buffalo. We would fill it. It was like a bag, and it would preserve that. I think they just found one maybe in the last 5 years, a big, huge bag of pemmican that was, probably 100 years old, that was still edible. So there's our food sources were, you know, like everybody, every other indigenous food source, respected and appreciated. And nowadays, I mean, yeah, I think, everybody consumes and consumes, and they never, give thanks. That's an important thing for me. I mean, it's everything you consume, whether it's you hear it, you see it, you feel it, or you eat it. You got to say thank you, right? And that goes along with good things and bad things. Everything comes up to challenge you, to grow, to thrive, to adjust, to test you, and I think that's what life is, and about growing into who we are. And it does come along with these tests. There's things that have happened to me in my life that have tested me and have at times ruled me, I guess you would say. For example, a quick story about something, we're growing up in where I grew up in southern Alberta, on the border of the res. The community still is very, very divided with race and culture. And I grew up with a lot of racism. And it made me build up a wall, a defense mechanism, to be a scary guy, to be able to look at somebody like I could kill them, like, get out of my way. I don't care what you're saying. I'm whatever. I had to build that up in order for me to survive, right? And the more I learned about history, the more I became, my beliefs were more, you know, engaged in who I was as a young Indigenous boy, looking for that power, looking for that energy of hey, who am I, right? And it went against everything that was, you know, going to school and having racist people all around me. It made me a mean guy. Made me, I mean, I don't know. It made me look at life a different way. And but now it's like I don't look for that anymore. I'm a worldly person. I've traveled around the world to Europe, to different continents, Australia, and especially in Europe, I realized that not everybody's racist, and it's not about white or brown or black, and it's about everything is we're all human, right? And I understand that. And but to go back home recently, I was back home for ceremony, but I was going every morning. I would go to the YMCA, and they give you a free locker so that you can lock your lock, and they give you a bracelet that has the number to the code, so you don't lose it and you give it back. So, anyways, I was about the fifth day in, and the lady, I could just feel the energy right away. I was like, "Oh, can I borrow a lock?" And she was like, "Can you write your name and your number down on here so I make sure I get the lock back?" And I was like, that defense mechanism went up, and I turned into this mean guy. Like, you know who I turned into? I turned into my character on the show Dark Winds, Frank Nakai. And right then and there, I realized if I didn't have that racism as a young kid, I wouldn't have been able to be Frank Nakai. And so I had to pull that guard down and smile and tell her, "Hey, thank you." And it was a moment for me of being aware of my emotions, connecting with my own spirit, and knowing that's not my issue, that's hers. Let her keep it. So it's been a long journey of living and learning, taking the good and the bad, and appreciating all of it.
That's beautiful to not use your movie stardom platform to become a bigger bully, but to go, wait, here's an opportunity for me to get humble and gentle and grateful that I don't have to live in that anymore. But those conditionings gave me what I've got to be able to be the real deal of whatever character I'm accepting. It's like, can you accept a really gentle role in a film where you're just this nice, like, gentle spiritual being, or is it like, man, we want the toughest, meanest Indian that can ride the biggest, baddest horse, man, bareback, bro? And can you do that? That's my next question. Are you a horse?
That's how I got into business, actually. I
Oh
wouldn't
my God,
be.
tell us about it.
I was so my movie. I think that there's a lot of things that in my life, in my focus. When it comes to manifesting things, I've made a lot of my dreams come true. Still making them come true. But one of those is being on film riding a horse. I remember watching the movie Geronimo, and seeing Steve Rivas, who was a stuntman on the show, and being inspired, being uplifted by, wow, that's a powerful Indigenous man. Like, growing up where I grew up, I mean, that traditional aspect is I didn't see that anymore. You know what I mean? On the reservation, we don't see that Indian in full regalia, having that power of being a warrior on a horse. And it inspired me. And I was like, wow, someday I'm going to begin to see me on television riding a horse, and I'm very thankful that has come to fruition. And, I started my acting career, I guess, very organically. There was actually a television show in Canada called North of. Oh, before we go any further, I just wanted to make a clarification. You introduced me as a Canadian actor. You know what? I'm a Blackfoot actor.
Right
I, I,
on. All right.
I do not claim to be. I'm not Canadian. I'm Blackfoot. I'm what we call ourselves Nitsitapi, the real people.
Ititapi.
Needs it to be, yes. So where was I? I was talking about
You were past the manifesting and uh,
manifesting, being a little kid, having that vision of seeing myself on a horse. And there was a show in Northern Canada called North of 60 that also, brought a lot of Indigenous talent to the world, or to the mainstream, with Tantu Cardinal, Nathaniel Arcand, Adam Beach, um, Gordon Tutusis, Jimmy Herman, so much talent. But that was the only show you could really watch that had Indigenous people on it, and it was an Indigenous story. Anyways, there was an actor on there who um committed suicide in real life, and they wanted to bring attention to the signs of suicide. So they organized a theatrical play that brought awareness to the signs of suicide. And they were looking for actors, actresses, and I happened to get the role. That was my first ever acting role experience, where we spent 6 months every day learning not only the lines, but the whole the acting aspect, as to projecting your voice and your presence on stage, and how you direct your presence when you're on a stage, how to open yourself up to the different things like that. Anyways, that was my introduction to acting. Then I moved on to trying to get behind the screen, and I had a couple already background roles. I think my first show was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and another show was Mystery Alaska with Russell Crowe. That was before the Gladiators. So I sat and had lunch with Russell Crowe. Um, but that was, again, it was before the Gladiators, and it wasn't that he was unknown, but he wasn't as famous as he was after the Gladiator. But anyways, I realized I wasn't going to become a rich man being a background actor, and I kind of put it to the side. I moved on to construction, and went from roofing to drywall to a bunch of other different trades. Um, but there was a casting call for a show called Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, where I stood in line for a minute and I walked away because the lineup was too big. And a man actually chased me out, and he said, "Hey, I want to take a photo of you." His name was Julian. Um, he took a photo of me, took my measurements. He said, "I'm sure they're going to use you. You have a good look, right? You have long hair and tall and lean, high cheekbones, right?" And so I did. I got a call. I think I got about a third. I got an extra role on there. And on my first day on set, I was approached to see if I can ride a horse. And that was really my foot in the door to the whole movie business. After that show, I ended up with a recommendation from a friend, Tim Brewstead, um, to go to Buffalo Bill's Wild West show in Paris, France. I spent a year in Paris, um, which again was it was hard. It's hard to leave the res. It was hard to leave my family. It was hard to be in a country where I didn't speak the language. It was but at the same time, it was very empowering to me.
hmm?
All I had at certain times were my prayers, right? And
Right.
with guidance from my elders before I even left. You're gonna find yourself lost out there, and lonely. There's animals that you work with. There's, go sit with those animals. Go talk to these animals. You get strength from them. So, I found some times where, I was sitting in the, up on the fence where there's, some buffalo that were in the show, or the horses that I was riding in the show. And I really feel that I learned a lot more about myself the further I got away from the res. I realized the world is bigger than the res, and it was amazing to be able to keep that, to feed my spirit and keep that power and stay there. I think a lot of, you know, it was hard, but it was a amazing time for me. I learned the most that you know, to experience Paris as a cast member in the Buffalo Bills Wild West show. It's a part of history.
Yeah.
Very thankful for that opportunity, and to come home and be recognized in the stunt community and given opportunities to be a part of big, huge shows. Like, when I first came back, it was the show Hell on Wheels came. We did a pilot and we ended up doing that show for 7 years. I was a stuntman on that show for 7 years. And that was my again, my in was being able to ride a horse, being able to ride, fight, and fall off a horse. So I probably died over 100 times on that show. Um, great, amazing opportunity. And then I did, with the stunt coordinator's recommendations, I was recommended to help run a boot camp for the feature film, The Revenant, Oscar award-winning film. And you know what? We just put a bunch of young boys together that could ride. Right? It wasn't like I had to teach them anything. We just wanted to see their riding techniques and make sure they were who looked good on camera. And it was a great opportunity to be a part of that show. Again, it won several Oscars. Great story. And then it's, everything in my life and in my career has been a stepping stone. I feel like I've been, like having, how would I say this? Connecting dots. So I had these dots put out, all the connections that I've made, and now it's all these dots are coming together and painting a really beautiful picture. I can stand back and see it all coming together. Things that happened 20, 30 years ago are why they're relevant now. And it's from going to stunts and into trying to be an actor. I heard a million no's before I heard one yes. That gave me that opportunity to share my language with the world, to be able to introduce myself in my language as a Blackfoot demigod trickster is again another manifestation. I remember being a little kid going to a place called Buffalo Jump, and there was how would you say, a tourist guy. Well, he was from the res, but he was telling Napi stories. He was telling our trickster stories. And I was like, as a little kid, there's not a lot of opportunities or jobs on the res. And I'm like, wow, this guy's got the greatest job in the world. He's telling Napi stories. I'd love to tell Napi stories, right? And so to be able to get that opportunity to bring our Blackfoot demigod trickster to life in the movie Wonder Woman is amazing. Again, that was not scripted. It was with respect to the director and her respect for Indigenous culture. She understood that the word chief was derogatory and offered me the opportunity. She said, "Do you speak your language?" I said, "Yes, I do." She said, "Come up with a name that we can so you never have to call yourself chief, but everybody else will." She was based on DC comic book characters. I can't change that. That's when I realized I was actually doing Wonder Woman. I was like, what? DC Comics? And she said, yes, this is for the movie Wonder Woman. That's another big kind of cool story, doing an audition and not knowing what it's for and being so secretive, being flown to London, England before I even knew what I was doing. And that was the first question was, how do you feel about being called the chief? And I was like, whoa, wow, like, right? I was like, no, we're not all chiefs. And that's where she expressed that she understood that and had respect, but based on DC Comics, she couldn't change it. So in my research of, being World War I, I researched Native American veterans, and I found numerous stories of our people across Turtle Island in in heroic battles, victorious battles. Francis Pegamegabo. There's so many, but all of these stories I realized were written by non-Indigenous people telling stories of Indigenous people in battle, except one. There was Mike Mountain Horse, and he was actually a blood tribe member from my tribe who wrote a book. He wrote his own book about war and our people. But I didn't have the right protocol to use his name. So you know what? Like when I go into, as when I'm asking for answers or looking for guidance, putting out tobacco and asking, for that guidance, and being an actor, sometimes I'll ask our storyteller, who is Napi, who is our trickster, hey, walk in my shoes, help me play this character the best way that I can, you know. And as I did that, I was like, hey, why can't the character be Napi? If Wonder Woman's dad is Zeus, why can't, who's a Greek god, why can't there be a Blackfoot or an indigenous demigod in there? So that's how I brought that to the table, where, it brings a backstory to
Amazing.
to the DC comic book world. So everything has, been stepping stones. But yes, that horse riding was the key. You know what I like to say, that you don't have to lose traditional values to succeed. For me, it's knowing my language, having long hair, singing, dancing, riding horses. Those are all traditional values that have what brought me around the world and gave me the opportunity to share my culture, language, and be a storyteller. Being a storyteller is our oldest tradition. And I feel I'm carrying that on being an actor.
Yeah, it's important to be able to become those different characters in one voice, go from Napi to the grandmother, to the grandfather, to the coyote, to the rabbit, to the
Right.
tree, Mother Earth, to the moon, to the stars, be able to be the voice of all those characters in one voice. And to have someone be able to interpret it like Mariah and become all those different characters at the same time, it's just like, thank you, Mariah, for being with us. We really appreciate you here. So that is so cool. Thank you for sharing that bit of insight for us to learn more about. Let's go watch Wonder Woman again after watching this show. Let's go look at that character and let's do that, and everything else you've done and everything else you represented in a good way, and not just, in the old way of what the films put the Indians in. Because I've been to film school. Actually, I've been to 2 film schools, and I studied film. And before film was, the Eastman Kodak moving train, right? And they brought that train show into the, old days. And these people came to the theater, and as the train was coming in towards the lens, the audience went like this, like, oh my God, the train's gonna hit us, gonna run over us, man. And then after that, they started to look for stories, and this is like before John Wayne. This is like, Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford,
Well,
and
I
all
think
of.
the first thing that was ever recorded was Indigenous people, Thomas Edison. The one video where you see the 3 guys dancing, that was from Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, actually. I think that was the actual first footage of film. So when
Yeah.
it comes to film and Indigenous people, it's connected. for
right.
sure.
Definitely. So all that, and then to now, actual native voice behind the camera, writing the story, putting the actors in there. Ramona Emerson, she's got some good stuff happening with this novel that got published called Shutter. And she's saying, top down, Indigenous. Everybody else, listen and learn. This is how you
Right.
work with Indigenous people. And this is how you tell Indian storytelling. Because I've been behind a camera for, I don't know how long she's been doing it, 25 years. But so as we come to the end of our show, I want to ask you, what advice do you give for, I want to say, up and coming of all generations of people that have stories and authenticity and indigeneity, and they want to come into this world called film for true representation and no cultural appropriation? What do you tell us all? What can you say in terms of all your years and what got you here, and how do you hold on to who you are and not let that go to become some artificial entity called a Hollywood movie star?
You know what? I think learning every skill you can. For me, what brought me to where I'm at is experience. I didn't have, a lot of training in anything that I've done. I knew everything that I've done, I've learned through experience, right? Learning what I like and don't like. And I think that's a huge lesson in life, is to take in life what works for you, because what works for me might not work for you, right? And the more skills you have, the better. I don't think I would be as great of an actor as I am if I wasn't a stuntman first. I think for me, keeping that integrity is just my upbringing, knowing who I am and where I come from. And I know that things change all the time. I understand. I've learned a lot from watching other people of what not to do, almost like our trickster stories. You know what I mean? And I see that in the entertainment world as well. I've been aware of it ever since I was a young kid, which is why I try and, even when it comes to talking, speaking, I don't like to really, going into a community of children. I'm not like, hey, I'm Gene Braverock. These are all the things I've done, because it's not about me. It's about them. For me, it's about teaching and planting seeds to be able to meditate and ground themselves, and to be able to communicate in a positive way. These are all things that we're not taught as Indigenous people, and that I've actually, again, through experience of living and learning that these are what helps me keep and feed my spirit, grounding myself, praying, meditating, breath work. And again, knowing how to communicate, knowing how to express my wants and needs in a way that doesn't bring shame, blame, or judgment.
So these days, from say when you first started or when you were a little boy and media was media as we knew it, and then things started to evolve with the onset of the internet, and computer technology became very, very real in the 90s, and then kind of really like took flight in this century, 21st century. How do you see that as an empowerment tool for Indigenous connectivity with the media and with voice and connecting together and kind of steering away from the conquer and divide mentality, but decolonizing and bringing us
You
all
know,
together and be
yeah,
one?
it's a very great time to be alive as an Indigenous person. We are taking the narratives back. We are telling our own stories. We are, and with social media and everything that's around us, we're able to. I mean, if you follow me on Instagram, Gene Brave Rock, um, each and every day I feel, I mean, it's not intentionally, oh, I'm gonna make this Indigenous little music loop and do this scenery thing and make it look real indigenous. That's not my, I just do it because I think I'm like, hey, this is cool. You know what I mean? And it does come across very indigenous and very, I mean, but that's just me. Again, I'm expressing what makes me happy, what lightens my spirit, and that platform of social media or media in general gives us that voice to express our feelings, our thoughts, our to get points across. And it's a great time. There's so many important, I always say this, that here in Turtle Island, there's every step you take, there's a story to be told, and it's an indigenous one. Already our stories are being washed and being told by non-indigenous people, whether you go any tourist place you go, right? And I'm doing my own project right now, the Oki Language Project, where I am going to be traveling across America, recognizing every step of the way whose land we stand on, and trying to learn the language of that land, whether that's Yate or Anin or Buju or Chihuntamo or, I'm a very huge advocate for, storytelling. And I'm searching for our elders again organically to be blessed by their wisdom. I'm very thankful that I grew up with my elders and I know the protocols to to asking for this wisdom, as opposed to the extraction. I think a lot of the past, our stories have been extracted and changed and converted. So for me, it's about our elders, talk, sitting down, having tea, sitting down and having a meal with them. That in itself is sacred. But listening and retaining their stories. So 50 years down the road, our stories are still being told by those elders, right?
Right.
That is my intention. And respecting our elders by giving them, you know, that purpose, because that is their purpose, to share their wisdom and to be able to leave something for our next generations, leave that brand, like already there's a big, huge disconnect, right? So I'm trying to just retain and preserve as much as I can when it comes to culture, language, stories. It's not about, I know a lot of people it's about, they don't want to record sacred things. You know what? I don't want to record sacred things. I want to retain, language to the point of saying, hey, you're going to be late for school. I'm getting on the bus. I'm going to the doctor. Where's your socks? Where's my hat? Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? You want something to eat? Common words, phrases, and sayings and greetings, right? So important. So
Indians on Wall Street, man. All of us, indigenous people in every walk of life, everywhere and everywhere and everywhere. And it's so beautiful that Native people are taking their narratives back, because the school certainly didn't give representation in the way we wanted it to be represented. But who goes who goes to school and takes social studies seriously in seventh grade? I mean, we all went through it. Those of us that went to school, some of us did not, and much respect all around for that. But people go to movies, man. People want to go to movies. People want to watch platforms. People want to see streaming shows. People want to get involved with series to get out of their living room for a minute. Right on. So this month is Native American Indigenous Heritage Month. What does that mean to you?
you know what? It doesn't mean anything to me because each and every day I'm Indian and I'm proud, and I it's I don't every day I'm Indigenous. So
I love that. I love that. That's the best answer, man. It's just every day we're still here. Cool.
exactly.
So our theme, we usually have a theme with our shows going into our wisdom circle, and our theme right now is the word gathering. What does that mean to you?
Gathering, to me, that's connecting. That's where stories are told. That's where connections are made. That's where, there's everything that happens. There's a reason why it happens, and when you have those gatherings, I mean, those are those opportunities to connect, and it's like our newspapers, right? It's where we know what's going on, what's happening, how the community is, right?
So Jean, thank you so much for your time here. I'm going to go ahead and tell you thank you. Thank you from the heart for being Indigenous, elder, respect-based, and knowing who you are. And I'm going to pass it off to beautiful Elena.
Thank you, Tash.
Okay, thanks
There we
so
go.
much, Jean, and for blessing us in the circle. You've been an absolute gift and blessing, not only in your walk, but also just with sharing that with us this evening in the wisdom circle. And, just so many things you said, but particularly, your upbringing with your grandmother. I want to echo what Tash said. Your ancestors are with you. And so in the presence of all that you do on screen, off screen, and how powerful that is. You might not need to speak or anything, it's just your presence, the essence of presence. So thank you for blessing us this evening and being here. What I'm going to do now, Jean, is go into our commercial break. Those people that want to have it not yet following Jean Brave Rock, if you have a look below in the social media, as Jean was saying earlier, be sure to subscribe to his pages. Then you know what this amazing man is up to, where he is in your city, in your country. But please be sure to follow him. And then in saying that, next month we have the beautiful Lindsay Millard, who will be blessing us, same time, same channel, same place at the Indigenous Ways Circle. And Lindsay is a queer, multidisciplinary artist. She is also a student at the Institute of American Arts, born and raised in Tannen, Alaska. And a lot of us may know that as Fairbanks, Alaska. Lindsay grew up spending time taking care of her family camp across the river from Fairbanks. So please tune in and hear this amazing youth that we'll be having in next week. If you enjoyed Jean's presentation live, you'll be able to see that in the next 24 hours in our archives at our website, IndigenousWays.org. Please share that with your friends. If you were watching us or beaming in live on Facebook or any of our social media platforms, please be sure to share that. Also like our pages if you're there. And we've been very blessed to support over 210 Native American, Indigenous, deaf and hard of hearing, LGBTQIA2+ presenters in this format since April 1st when we started. All of them have ASL interpreters. All of them are free, with the incredible wisdom of people like Jean sharing it through this platform. And that is making access available to all. If you want to know more or want to subscribe to our newsletter, please go to our website, IndigenousWays.org. And as I said below us, flashing across the screen, you can see all our social media pages. So be sure to like any of those pages. And I want to thank this evening Mariah Garcia, who has been making access available with ASL. Thank you. And also all of our presentations that we are doing have sponsors, including the National Endowment of the Arts, City of Santa Fe, the Santa Fe Community Foundation, the Envision Fund, and New Mexico Arts. especially want to thank our board members and also all our Indigenous, our individual donors who make this program possible, supporting all of our presenters, our ASL interpreters. So thank you for your investment. You know, and next week is, some people call it Thanksgiving, Harvest Day, but on Thursday is Thanksgiving Day. And globally, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving is known as Giving Tuesday. So if you want to invest in Indigenous Ways on the 28th of November, it's a global day of giving. And so you can support our platform. You can either go to our website, and on the announcement bar there will take you to this page of our Giving Tuesday page where you can invest in this and keep this going, this program going, or all the programs that we provide to our beloved communities, again, giving voice to our Native American, Indigenous, deaf and hard of hearing, LGBTQIA communities. So thank you so much for supporting us. And we also have our donation page, and you can, if you're not into the electronics, totally get it. You can send it during our postal address with our PO Box 4073, that's Santa Fe, New Mexico 87502. And with that, I'm going to turn that back to the beautiful one.
Thank you for that beautiful, long-winded message, Elena. Goes global. Thank you very much. Thank you. I just want to reiterate our gratitude for Jean Brave Rock and the walk, and your give back to everyone, Jean, and your truth, and staying true to you and who you are, and grandmothers all the way. Special thanks to our sister Mariah, who has just been there for us for quite a while now. So thank you, Mariah, for your awesome work, your interpreting. And thank you to all of our Zoomers and our archivers and our volunteers and sponsors and board members. Thank you all. We would not be doing this without you. So let's keep this going, everybody. And as they say, take it easy. Take care, everybody.
And we'll look forward to seeing you next month at the Wisdom Circle with the beautiful Lindsay Mala. But with that, let's please give it up for the one and only Jean.
Thank you, Jean. Jane Brave Rock. Keep on rocking. The free world, brother. Take care. Bye-bye.
Touch the earth.